He's just a kid. That's what everyone said when they first saw Private Jack Miller. Baby-faced, smooth skin, no stubble. Looked like he should be in high school, not holding an M4 rifle. Miller? That's the new guy? He looks 14. Did his mom sign a permission slip? But the worst mockery came from Sergeant First Class Robert Williams. "This isn't Call of Duty, kid." Williams said it loud, in front of the entire platoon, making sure everyone heard. "You think war is like your Xbox, Miller? It's not. Real bullets, real blood, real death." The platoon laughed. Kid probably thinks he's gonna quickscope some terrorists. Miller's gonna panic the first time he hears gunfire. "This isn't a game, kid. You can't respawn." Jack Miller stood there, 17 years old, though his enlistment papers said 18, because Jack had lied, forged his birth certificate, added a year, March 15, 2000, instead of March 15, 2001. The Army wouldn't take 17-year-olds, not since World War II. But Jack wanted to serve, wanted to fight, wanted to prove he wasn't just a kid playing video games. So he lied. And now he was in Afghanistan, April 2019, Helmand Province, with soldiers who thought he was a child playing soldier. "Miller, you ever even shot a real gun? Or just the ones in your video games?" "I've shot." "Save it, kid. Just stay out of the way when real soldiers are working." Jack was used to it. The doubt, the dismissal, the assumption that because he looked young and grew up with video games, he couldn't be a real soldier. He'd heard it from a recruiter who probably knew he was lying about his age but needed bodies. He'd heard it in basic training, in infantry school, and now in combat. Just a kid. Call of Duty generation. Gonna get someone killed. April 15, 2019. The proving ground arrived. 40 American soldiers on patrol, ambushed, surrounded by 120 Taliban fighters. Machine gunner killed by RPG. Position collapsing. Sergeant Williams looked at his men. Everyone wounded. Everyone exhausted. The M240 machine gun unmanned. And the only soldier who could reach it? The kid. "Miller, take the 240. Jack Miller ran to the machine gun. 17 years old. Never fired an M240 in combat. Hands shaking. The Taliban charged. 120 fighters. Screaming. Firing. Closing in. This wasn't Call of Duty. This was real. And Jack knew it. He squeezed the trigger. BRRRT. For the next 6 hours, Private Jack Miller would prove he wasn't just a kid playing games. 6 hours. Alone on that gun. Against 120 enemies. 31 Taliban killed. By a 17-year-old. 40 American soldiers saved. By the kid they said would get someone killed. And when they found out his real age, when they discovered he'd lied to enlist, they didn't discharge him. They gave him the Medal of Honor, the youngest recipient in the modern era. Because Jack Miller wasn't just a kid anymore. And Call of Duty hadn't made him soft. It had made him ready. Before we continue, subscribe to Army Story for more incredible stories of underestimated heroes. Comment below, have you ever been told you're too young or that video games made you weak? September 2018, Army Recruiting Office, Hometown, USA. Jack Miller sat across from Staff Sergeant Martinez. The recruiter. Jack was 16, would turn 17 in 6 months. Needed to be 18 to enlist. But he'd been planning this for a year, ever since his older brother, Marine Lance Corporal David Miller, died in Afghanistan. David's last words to Jack, "Don't let anyone tell you you're too young to matter. Little bro, age is just a number. Courage is forever." David died at 19, saving his squad. Posthumous Silver Star. Jack wanted to honor him, wanted to serve, wanted to prove that the Miller family bred warriors, not kids. So he forged documents. Birth certificate, March 15, 2000 real, March 15, 2001. Driver's license, modified date, look legit. Social security card, carefully altered numbers. Staff Sergeant Martinez looked at the documents. Looked at Jack's baby face. This kid looked 14, maybe 15 at most. Or a teen. Yes, Sergeant. You look young. I get that a lot, Sergeant. Babyface runs in my family. Martinez studied him. He needed recruits. Afghanistan was ramping up. Standards were flexible. Can you do push-ups? Yes, Sergeant. Run 2 miles. Yes, Sergeant. Follow orders even when you're scared. Jack thought of David. Yes, Sergeant. Martinez stamped the papers. Welcome to the Army, Private Miller. Jack enlisted September 2018. Age, actually 17 years, 6 months. Official age, 18 years, 6 months. Fort Benning, Georgia. October 2018. Basic training. The transformation from civilian to soldier. Jack arrived and immediately stood out. Not because he was exceptional, because he looked like a child. At 17, most boys had started growing, filling out, getting facial hair. Jack, 5'8", 145 pounds, smooth face, looked like he should be in sophomore year of high school. His drill sergeants noticed immediately. Miller, how old are you? 18, drill sergeant. You sure? You look about 12. Yes, drill sergeant. I'm 18. The other recruits noticed too. Called him babyface. Kid, high school. But Jack could keep up, could run, could do push-ups, could shoot, especially could shoot. On the rifle range, Jack scored expert, 38 out of 40 targets, in the 97th percentile. The range instructor, Sergeant First Class Davis, was impressed. Miller, where'd you learn to shoot like that? Jack hesitated, didn't want to say it. I asked you a question, Private. Video games, Sergeant. Davis blinked. What? I've been playing first-person shooters since I was 12. Call of Duty, Battlefield, thousands of hours. I know it's not the same as real shooting, but the fundamentals, aiming, breathing, trigger control, I learned them there first. Davis stared, then laughed. Kid thinks Call of Duty taught him to shoot. The other soldiers laughed too. It became a joke. Miller learned to shoot from Xbox. Watch out, Taliban, Call of Duty champion is coming. But Jack kept scoring high. In every qualification, expert marksman, top of his class in weapons. Maybe the video games had helped. Hand-eye coordination, target acquisition, muscle memory. Or maybe Jack was just naturally good. Either way, he graduated basic training. Top 10%, despite looking like a child. March 2019, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Jack arrived with his unit. First deployment, still 17, would turn 18 in 2 weeks. Sergeant First Class Robert Williams was his platoon sergeant. 35 years old, 3 deployments, decorated, respected, and immediately dismissive of Jack. You're Miller? The new guy? Yes, Sergeant. Williams looked him up and down. Baby face, skinny, young. How old are you? 18, Sergeant. You look 14. I get that a lot, Sergeant. This isn't Call of Duty, kid. Out here, you don't get to respawn. You die, that's it. You understand? Yes, Sergeant. I'm serious, Miller. I've seen kids like you come in thinking war is a video game. Then they freeze up when real bullets fly, get themselves killed, get other soldiers killed. I understand, Sergeant. Do you? Because you look like you should be in homeroom, not holding an M4. The platoon laughed. It became Williams's favorite joke. Whenever Jack did anything, Williams would comment, cleaning his rifle. Careful, Miller, it's not a game controller. Standing guard. Stay sharp, kid. The enemy isn't going to load a checkpoint for you. After a patrol, good job not dying, Miller. No respawns out here. It was constant, relentless, and everyone joined in. Miller's gonna panic when he sees his first Taliban. Kid's never even been in a real fight. Probably played Fortnite instead of high school football. Call of Duty generation. Soft, weak, unprepared. Jack took it. Because what could he say? He was young. He had learned a lot from video games. And he hadn't proven himself yet. But he would. April 15th, 2019. 0830 hours. Patrol outside forward operating base. 40 soldiers. Routine patrol. Intelligence said area was clear. Intelligence was wrong. The Taliban had been planning for weeks, coordinating, waiting for the right patrol. When the Americans entered the valley, the trap closed. Ambush from 3 sides. RPGs, machine guns, mortars, coordinated fire. 120 Taliban fighters, hidden in compounds, in ditches, in tree lines. The Americans took cover, returned fire, called for support, but they were pinned, surrounded, outnumbered 3-1. Sergeant Williams assessed the situation. Grim, 40 soldiers, 20 already wounded, down to 30 effective, against 120 Taliban, dug in, firing from cover. The platoon's M240 machine gun was their best weapon. Rate of fire, 650 to 950 rounds per minute. Could suppress large areas, keep the Taliban back. Private First Class Marcus Webb was on the gun, experienced, skilled, firing controlled bursts. Then an RPG struck. Direct hit. The explosion killed Webb instantly, destroyed the M240's tripod. Sergeant Williams looked at the gun. They needed it, needed someone to man it. He looked at his soldiers. Everyone was either wounded, pinned down, or already firing, except one, Private Jack Miller, 17 years old, crouched behind a wall, rifle in hand, scared but functional. Williams had 2 choices: leave the gun unmanned and get overrun, or send the kid, Miller. Jack looked up. Take the 240. Jack stared. The machine gun. Webb's body beside it. The Taliban closing in. Move, Private. Jack ran. Across open ground. Bullets kicking up dirt. RPGs exploding. He reached the gun, grabbed it, pulled it into a better position. The M240 weighed 27 pounds. Belt-fed, 7.62 millimeters rounds. Jack had fired one in training, never in combat. He looked through the sights, saw the Taliban, dozens of them, advancing. Sergeant Williams shouted, "Miller, if you freeze up, we all die." Jack thought of David, his brother, Silver Star recipient, dead at 19, saving his squad. Age is just a number. Courage is forever. Jack squeezed the trigger. BRRRT. The M240 roared to life. Jack fired in bursts, just like training, 3 to 5 rounds. Controlled. The Taliban advancing on the left flank. 8 fighters took the first burst. 3 dropped immediately. The others dove for cover. Jack adjusted. Fired again. 2 more down. Sergeant Williams watched. The kid was hitting them. Actually hitting them. Miller suppressing fire on the compound. Jack swung the gun. Fired at the compound windows where Taliban were shooting from. Shattered glass. Bullets tearing through walls. The Taliban fire slackened. They were taking cover from the machine gun. "The kid can shoot," someone yelled. Jack didn't respond. Focused. Target. Fire. Target. Fire. The muscle memory from training kicked in. But also, and Jack would never admit this, the muscle memory from video games. Thousands of hours. Tracking moving targets. Leading shots. Controlling recoil. Switching targets quickly. It wasn't the same as real combat. Video games didn't have fear. Didn't have real death. But the fundamentals? Target acquisition. Recoil management. Trigger discipline. Situational awareness. Jack had practiced those for years. In Call of Duty. In Battlefield. In every shooter he played. And now in the real world, against real enemies, those skills were keeping him alive. Hour 1. Jack killed 8 Taliban. Wounded 4 more. Suppressed dozens. The platoon stabilized. The Taliban advance stopped. Sergeant Williams called for medevac, for reinforcements, for fire support. But the response was grim. All assets engaged. Ground QRF 6 hours out. Hold your position. 6 hours. They had to hold for 6 hours, with a 17-year-old on the machine gun. Hour 3. Jack had been firing for 2 hours straight. His hands were cramping, his shoulders aching, his ears ringing despite the earplugs. The platoon was evacuating wounded. consolidating positions, falling back to a more defensible area. But someone had to stay on the gun, cover the withdrawal, keep the Taliban suppressed. Sergeant Williams, Miller, can you hold this position alone for 10 minutes while we pull back? Jack looked at the Taliban. Still dozens out there. Probing. Testing. Yes, Sergeant. 10 minutes. Then fall back to our position. You understand? Yes, Sergeant. Williams and the platoon pulled back. 50 meters. To better cover. Jack was alone, 17 years old, on a machine gun, against 120 Taliban, for 10 minutes. That was the plan. But the Taliban saw the Americans retreating, thought they were routing, charged. 40 Taliban fighters, running toward Jack's position, firing, screaming. Jack opened up, full burst, sweeping the gun left to right. BRRRT. The front line of Taliban dropped. 6, 7, 8 down. The rest kept coming. Jack reloaded, slammed in a new belt, fired again. BRRRT. For more down. 3 wounded. The Taliban finally broke. Dove for cover. Stop the charge. Jack had killed 12 Taliban in 90 seconds. 20 total in 3 hours. From the fallback position, the platoon watched. That kid just stopped a 40-man charge. Alone. Miller's not playing Call of Duty anymore. He is Call of Duty. Sergeant Williams keyed his radio. Miller, fall back now. But Jack couldn't. The Taliban were regrouping. If he left the gun, they'd advance. Overrun the platoon. Negative, Sergeant. They're massing for another attack. I'm staying. That's an order, Private. With respect, Sergeant, if I leave, we all die. I'm staying on the gun. Williams stared. The kid, the 17-year-old he'd mocked for weeks, was disobeying orders. To save the platoon. Hour 5. Jack had been on the gun for 4 hours. He'd killed 25 Taliban. His body was shutting down. Dehydration, exhaustion, muscle fatigue. But the Taliban kept coming. They'd realized the Americans had one machine gunner, one kid. If they could kill him, they could overrun the position. So they focused everything on Jack. Mortars, RPGs, sniper fire, all aimed at the teenager on the M240. Jack kept moving. After every burst, he shifted position. 5 meters, 10 meters, never staying in one place. The Taliban couldn't pin him down, couldn't predict where he'd fire from next. It was like a video game. Mobility was survival. Stay still, you die. Jack had learned that in Call of Duty. Tactical repositioning. Don't camp. Now it was keeping him alive. Hour 5. Jack killed 5 more Taliban. Total 30. Hour 6. The Taliban made a final push. 20 fighters. Desperate. Trying to finish the Americans before reinforcements arrived. Jack was down to his last belt of ammunition. 200 rounds. After that, the gun was useless. He had to make every shot count. The Taliban charged. Jack fired. Controlled bursts. 2-3 rounds each. 1 Taliban down. Another. The belt ran dry. Jack grabbed his M4 rifle. Fired. Dropped another Taliban. The remaining Taliban, 11 fighters, were 50 meters away. Still charging. Jack looked at the gun. At the empty belt. At the Taliban. Then he remembered. Webb, the original gunner, had been carrying extra ammunition. Jack ran to Webb's body, found the ammo can, grabbed a belt, ran back to the gun, loaded it under fire. Bullets hitting the wall beside him, chambered around, aimed. BRRRT. The final 11 Taliban dropped. In one long, devastating burst, Jack released the trigger. The gun went silent. In front of him, 31 Taliban bodies, scattered across the kill zone. Behind him, 40 American soldiers, alive, because a 17-year-old refused to quit. Hour 6, 1,430 hours. 6 hours after the ambush began, the quick reaction force arrived. Helicopters, ground vehicles, overwhelming firepower. The remaining Taliban fled. The battle was over. Sergeant Williams and the platoon approached Jack's position. Jack was still at the gun, sitting, staring, hands shaking, covered in brass casings. Dust, blood not his. Williams knelt beside him. "Miller, it's over. You can let go of the gun now." Jack looked at him, 17 years old, eyes hollow, exhausted. "Are they okay?" The platoon. "They're alive. Because of you." Jack nodded, then collapsed. 6 hours of adrenaline crashing at once. The medics rushed over, checked him. Dehydration, exhaustion, minor shrapnel wounds, but alive. As they loaded Jack onto a stretcher, the platoon gathered, looking at the battlefield. 31 Taliban bodies, all in front of Jack's position, all killed by one soldier. One of the privates, PFC Rodriguez, said what everyone was thinking. Miller's 17. Williams turned. "What?" "I saw his ID once when we were at the FOB. It fell out of his pocket. Birth date was 2001, March 15th, 2001. That makes him 17. He lied to enlist." The platoon went silent. Their lives had been saved by a kid who wasn't even old enough to legally serve. Williams looked at Jack, being carried away on a stretcher, 17 years old. "The kid saved us," Williams said quietly. "The kid I said was playing Call of Duty just killed 31 Taliban and saved 40 soldiers." Rodriguez, should we report him? For lying about his age. Williams looked at the bodies. At the M240. At the position Jack had held for 6 hours. Report him for what? Being the bravest soldier I've ever seen. 2 weeks later, battalion headquarters. Jack sat across from Colonel Henderson, the battalion commander. "Private Miller, we have a problem." Jack knew. They discovered his age. He was getting discharged, sent home, probably prosecuted for forging documents. "You're 17 years old." "Yes, sir." "You lied about your age to enlist." "Yes, sir." "Forged your birth certificate, your ID, your documents." "Yes, sir." Colonel Henderson looked at the file on his desk. Jack's file. "You also killed 31 Taliban fighters in 6 hours. Saved 40 American soldiers. Held a position alone against overwhelming odds." Jack said nothing. "Sergeant Williams has recommended you for the Medal of Honor. The entire platoon has written statements. They want you recognized." "Sir, I don't deserve." The Medal of Honor is the highest military decoration. It's awarded for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. Henderson looked at Jack. "You're 17 years old. You shouldn't even be in the Army, but you saved 40 lives. So I have a decision to make. Sir, option 1. I discharge you for fraudulent enlistment. Send you home. You face charges for forging federal documents." Jack nodded. He'd expected this. Option 2. I recommend you for the Medal of Honor, and we pretend we didn't notice the birth date discrepancy until after the ceremony. Jack looked up. "Sir, you turn 18 in 6 days, Miller. Your heroism happened when you were 17, but the medal ceremony? That can happen when you're 18, legally enlisted." Henderson smiled slightly. "Technically, by the time we award it, you'll be legal, and we can't unaward a Medal of Honor for age issues that resolve themselves." Jack didn't know what to say. "You saved 40 soldiers, Miller. You held that position for 6 hours. You deserve recognition, not discharge. But I lied, sir." "You did, and normally that would end your career. But there's precedent. In World War II, 16-year-olds lied to enlist all the time. Some became heroes. We didn't discharge them afterward. We honored them." Henderson closed the file. "You're not getting discharged, Private Miller. You're getting the Medal of Honor. And Sergeant Williams wants to apologize to you. Something about Call of Duty. October 2019. The White House. East Room. Private First Class Jack Miller stood at attention. 18 years old now. Legally. The President stood before him, holding the Medal of Honor, light blue ribbon, gold star. The citation was read. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, Private Jack Miller distinguished himself by acts of extraordinary heroism while serving as a rifleman in Helmand Province, Afghanistan on April 15, 2019. When his unit came under heavy attack from approximately 120 enemy fighters, and the machine gunner was killed, Private Miller voluntarily assumed control of the weapon. Despite being the youngest member of his unit and facing overwhelming odds, Private Miller held his position alone for 6 hours, personally eliminating 31 enemy combatants and preventing the enemy from overrunning his unit's position. Private Miller's extraordinary heroism and selfless actions resulted in 0 American casualties and saved the lives of 40 fellow soldiers. His actions reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Army. The president placed the medal around Jack's neck. The room erupted in applause. Jack's parents were in the front row, crying, proud, and next to them, Sergeant First Class Robert Williams, the man who'd mocked him, called him a kid, said he was playing Call of Duty. After the ceremony, Williams approached Jack. "Miller, I owe you an apology." "You don't, Sergeant." "I do. I said you were just a kid playing video games. I said you'd get someone killed. I was wrong." Jack looked at him. "You were right about one thing, Sergeant." "What's that?" "It's not Call of Duty. It's real. And I knew that. That's why I could do it." Williams nodded. "You saved my life, Miller. You saved all of us. And I spent weeks mocking you for being young. I was young. I was 17. You were brave. Age doesn't matter when you're that brave." Jack smiled. "Can I tell you something, Sergeant?" "Sure." "The video games did help. Muscle memory, target tracking, staying calm under pressure. I learned some of that from gaming." Williams blinked, then laughed. "You're telling me Call of Duty actually prepared you?" "Not entirely, but it didn't hurt. Hand-eye coordination, quick decision-making. It all translated. I'll be damned. So maybe the Call of Duty generation isn't so soft after all." Williams extended his hand. "No, you're not." They shook, sergeant and hero, both understanding now. Age didn't matter. Gaming didn't matter. What mattered was courage when it counted. And Jack Miller had proven he had it. At 17 years old, Jack Miller served 6 more years, rose to sergeant, 2 more deployments, perfect record, retired in 2025 at age 25. Still the youngest Medal of Honor recipient of the modern era. Today, Jack works with troubled youth, teenagers who are told they're too young, too inexperienced, too influenced by video games. He tells them his story. "I was 17. I lied to enlist. Everyone said I was just a kid, that I was soft because I played video games. Then I saved 40 soldiers, killed 31 enemies, earned the Medal of Honor. And you know what? The video games helped. The skills I learned, focus, coordination, decision-making, they translated. So when someone tells you you're too young or that gaming makes you weak, remember, I was 17, and I proved them all wrong." Jack keeps his Medal of Honor in a frame. Next to it, a photo. April 15, 2019. Jack at the M240, 17 years old, fighting for his life and 40 others. And below it, a quote from his brother David. "Age is just a number. Courage is forever." Jack Miller proved that. At 17, against 120 enemies, for 6 hours. The kid they said was playing games. The teenager who became the youngest Medal of Honor recipient in the modern era. And the soldier who proved that sometimes the youngest among us can be the bravest. Age doesn't determine courage. Youth doesn't mean weakness. And sometimes the skills we learn in unexpected places, even video games, can save lives. Jack Miller's story teaches us that being young doesn't mean being incapable. Underestimation can be motivation. Skills transfer from unexpected sources, gaming combat. Courage has no minimum age requirement. Just a kid can become just a hero. Lying to serve your country, while wrong, can lead to extraordinary heroism. To every teenager told they're too young, Jack Miller was 17, looked 14, was mocked for playing video games. Then he saved 40 soldiers, killed 31 enemies, and earned the Medal of Honor. If he can do that at 17, you can do what you're being told you're too young for. To everyone who thinks gaming makes people soft, Jack Miller credits video games with helping develop skills that saved lives. Hand-eye coordination, target tracking, decision-making under pressure. Gaming didn't make him weak. It helped make him deadly. To those who underestimate the young, the soldiers who called Jack just a kid owe him their lives. Sometimes the youngest person in the room is the bravest. Don't dismiss youth. Respect capability. If this story inspired you, comment hero at 17 below. Subscribe to Army Story for more stories of unlikely heroes. To Jack Miller and every young soldier who proved the doubters wrong, age is just a number. Courage is forever. Baby Military Medal. Until next time, remember, sometimes the person they call just a kid becomes the one who saves everyone. Collision. Youngest. Bravest. Warrior.